Your grandmother kept her terraced house bearable through the hottest summers on record without a single electric fan, and her bill never moved an inch. Today, we sweat through July with 3 fans whirring and a portable aircon roaring in the corner, and the energy companies adore us for it. But here is the twist. Number 9 on this list was so effective the Victorians built entire houses around it, and we have spent 50 years bricking it up. And number 2, scientists at a British university proved it actually works, even though it sounds completely mad. These 25 tricks vanished because staying cool became something you buy instead of something you know. Before we start, hit that subscribe button, because what you are about to learn could shave pounds off your summer bill. Let us count down. Number 25. The net curtain. We laugh at them now, those yellowing nets in the windows of every post-war semi, but they were never about nosy neighbors. That fine mesh scattered the harsh midday sun before it ever struck the glass, knocking the worst of the heat out of a room while still letting the breeze pass straight through. A solid curtain blocks light but traps stale, warm air against the pane. A net does the opposite. It filters and ventilates at the same time. A few yards of nylon net cost about 2 shillings in 1960 and lasted years on a brass wire. South-facing front rooms stayed noticeably cooler behind them. The light turned soft and milky instead of glaring. We tore them down for the open, bare window look and quietly let the sun back in. Number 24. Rolling up the rugs. The moment the weather turned, your nan rolled the front room rug, stood it on its end behind the settee, and left the bare boards or the cold lino exposed until autumn. It looked like spring cleaning. It was actually climate control. A thick wool rug is insulation. It holds warmth against the floor and stops the coolest air in the house, the air that always sinks low from ever reaching your feet. Strip it back to bare board or quarry tile, and the floor becomes a cold surface that quietly pulls heat out of the room all day. Walk across it barefoot and you feel it instantly. Stone and tile floors in old cottages did the same job year-round. We carpet every inch now and wonder why the house feels stuffy in June. Number 23. The damp sheet in the window. This one looks like witchcraft and works like aircon. On a hot, still night, your grandmother would wring out an old cotton bedsheet until it was damp, not dripping, and hang it across an open window where even a faint breeze came through. As the air passed through the wet cloth, the water evaporated, and evaporation steals heat. That is not folklore, it is basic physics. The air arriving in the room was measurably cooler and a touch more humid, enough to drop the temperature by a few degrees on the worst nights. Sailors did it with hammocks. Hospitals did it on sweltering wards before electric cooling existed. It costs nothing but a jug of water and a sheet you already own, and on a dry July night it can turn an airless box room back into somewhere you can actually sleep. Number 22. The cold hot water bottle. The same rubber bottle that warmed the bed in January earned its keep in July. Your nan filled it with cold water, sometimes left it in the meat safe or the bottom of the fridge for an hour, and slipped it under the sheets before bed or tucked it against the back of the knees. Rubber holds cold beautifully, far longer than a flannel or a wet towel, releasing it slowly against the very pulse points where blood runs closest to the skin. Cool the blood at the wrists, the knees, the neck, and you cool the whole body far faster than fanning your face. A hot water bottle cost a few shillings, and most homes already had 2 or 3. We buy gel cooling pads for a tenner now that do exactly the same thing the humble rubber bottle did for free. Number 21. The bowl of ice before the fan. Long before anyone could afford a proper cooling unit, this was the poor man's air conditioner, and it genuinely works. Set a wide, shallow bowl of ice, or a few frozen bottles of water, directly in front of an electric fan. As the blades push air across the ice, that air picks up the chill and carries it into the room as a cold, moving draft, not just stirred-up warm air. The difference standing in front of it is dramatic. The colder the source and the closer to the blades, the stronger the effect. A fan on its own only moves heat around. Give it something cold to drag the temperature off, and a single fan starts to behave like something far more expensive for the price of a few ice cubes from the freezer tray. Number 20. Cotton sheets and the freezer pillowcase. Synthetic bedding was sold to us as easy care and crease-free, but it traps heat and sweat against the skin like cling film. Your grandmother slept on cotton or linen because it breathes, wicking moisture away and letting body heat escape instead of bouncing it straight back at you. On the hottest nights, she went one better. Fold a clean cotton pillowcase, slip it into a bag, and pop it in the freezer for an hour before bed. You climb into a pillow that is genuinely cold against your cheek and the back of your neck, two of the body's best cooling points. The chill only lasts 20 minutes or so, but 20 minutes is often all you need to drop off. Cool the head, and the whole body follows it down into sleep. Number 19. The cold larder and the marble slab. Before fridges hummed in every kitchen, the larder was a small north-facing room with a stone or marble shelf, and it was a feat of design we have completely forgotten. North-facing meant it never caught direct sun. The marble slab stayed cold to the touch all summer because stone is dense and slow to warm, holding the night's chill deep into the day. Butter kept firm, milk kept sweet, and on a brutal afternoon you could press your forearms flat against that slab and feel the heat draining out of you. A cool larder kept the heart of the house cooler too, because you were not running a warm electric box in the corner of the kitchen all day. We tore them out for fitted units. The Victorians would think us daft. Number 18. Sash windows, top and bottom. First pattern break. Here is where the old houses were cleverer than us. That sliding sash window was not just opened at the bottom like a modern window. You opened it top and bottom, both halves at once, and that turned it into an engine. Hot air, which always rises, escaped out through the gap at the top. Cooler, heavier air was drawn in through the gap at the bottom. The window quietly pulled a constant current of air through the room with no fan, no power, nothing, using only the simple fact that warm air floats and cool air sinks. They called it the stack effect, and Georgian builders designed entire townhouses around it. Modern windows that only tilt or only open at the bottom killed it stone dead. If you have old sashes, open both ends. You will feel the draft begin within minutes. Number 17. Opening the loft hatch. On a hot day, your roof space can hit 50 degrees or more, a great trapped pocket of furnace air sitting directly above your ceilings, radiating heat down into the bedrooms all night. Your grandmother's trick, if she had a loft hatch, was to prop it open on the hottest evenings so that superheated air could finally rise up and out through any roof vents instead of pressing down on the rooms below. Pair it with an open upstairs window and the whole house develops a gentle upward pull, venting the worst of the heat through the top of the building like a chimney. Most people never think to touch the loft hatch from one year to the next. Crack it open in a heat wave and the bedrooms underneath stop feeling like an oven by bedtime. Number 16. Shutting up the unused rooms. There was a discipline to keeping an old house cool, and this was the heart of it. You did not try to cool the whole building. You picked the rooms you actually lived in, and you sealed the rest off. The spare room, the dining room nobody used midweek, the hallway, all had their doors firmly shut and their curtains drawn. Every closed door is a barrier that stops warm air drifting room to room, and every empty sunlit room you leave open is heat leaking into the space you're sitting in. Concentrate your cool air where the family actually is, and it goes 4 times further. We fling every internal door open for the airy, flowing feel, and then wonder why nowhere in the house is cool. Your nan knew. You ration the cool like everything else. Number 15. The cold flannel on the pulse points. When the heat became unbearable, your grandmother did not faff with the whole body. She knew the body has a handful of spots where the blood vessels run close to the surface. The wrists, the neck, the temples, the crook of the elbow, the backs of the knees. Cool those and you cool the blood passing through them, which then circulates and cools the rest of you far faster than a wet towel over the face ever could. A flannel soaked in cold water, wrung out and pressed to the back of the neck, brings relief within seconds. Run your wrists under the cold tap for half a minute and you will feel the difference all over. It is the same principle a nurse uses to bring a fever down, free, instant, and far more effective than flapping a magazine at yourself. Number 14. Terracotta and unglazed clay. Long before British kitchens filled with plastic, there were earthenware pots, and that humble unglazed clay had a hidden talent. Soak a terracotta pot or a clay butter dish in water and it slowly seeps moisture through its porous walls. As that moisture evaporates off the surface, it pulls heat out of whatever sits inside. The very same evaporative cooling that keeps you cold when you step dripping from a bath. Dairy and drinks kept in damp clay stayed cool on the hottest day without a scrap of ice. The same trick scaled up in hotter countries into clay coolers that could chill a whole jug of water in the shade. A few pounds of clay, a bowl of water, and the slow, patient physics of evaporation doing for free what we now plug into the wall. Number 13. Killing the standby lights. Walk through a modern house at night and count the little glowing dots. The telly, the box, the chargers, the microwave clock, the broadband router, all of them sipping power and, crucially, all of them giving off heat 24 hours a day. On its own, each one is tiny. Together, left running in a closed room, they quietly raise the background temperature and cost you money for the privilege. Your grandmother had almost nothing to switch off, and what she had she switched off at the wall out of sheer thrift. The lesson stands. In a heat wave, kill everything you are not using at the socket, especially anything warm to the touch. Cooler house, smaller bill, and not a fan in sight. The cheapest cooling of all is simply refusing to generate the heat in the first place. Number 12. The 4 o'clock night purge. This was the rhythm that ran every old house in summer, and almost nobody does it properly now. You kept the windows shut through the heat of the day to keep the hot outside air out. Then, in the cool, small hours, around 4 in the morning when the air finally dropped, you threw every window wide open. The whole house breathed in the coldest air of the night, the walls and floors drinking up that chill and storing it deep in the brick and stone. By the time you shut up again at dawn, the building had banked enough cool to coast through the next blazing afternoon. We do it backwards, flinging windows open at noon when the outside is hotter than the inside. Get the timing right, and the house does the cooling for you while you sleep. Number 11. Pale walls and the lime wash. Second pattern break. Here is one the color catalogs will never tell you. The color of your house decides how hot it gets, full stop. Dark surfaces drink in sunlight and turn it into heat. Pale ones throw it straight back. That is exactly why cottages along the coast and across the chalk counties were lime-washed brilliant white every spring, a job that cost a few pence in slaked lime and a Saturday afternoon. Those white walls reflected the summer sun instead of soaking it up, keeping the rooms behind them markedly cooler than a dark brick or rendered house next door. The same goes inside. Pale ceilings, light blinds, a white painted sill all bounce heat away. We paint feature walls in deep charcoal and moody navy now, and every one of them is busy turning your home into a storage heater. Number 10. External awnings and shutters. Here is the secret the whole continent kept, and Britain forgot. The single most important place to stop the sun is outside the glass, not inside it. Once sunlight passes through your window, the heat is already in the room, and a curtain only traps it there. But a shutter, an awning, or even an old roller blind fixed outside the window stops the sun before it ever reaches the glass, turning the heat away while it is still out in the street. That is why southern European houses have shutters on the outside as standard, and why Victorian shops had striped awnings cranked out over every window in summer. An external blind can block the overwhelming majority of solar heat that an internal curtain merely waves through. Shade the glass from the outside, and a room stays cool that would otherwise bake. Number 9. The cellar and the cool room. Now here is the one the Victorians built whole houses around. Underground, the temperature barely changes from one season to the next, holding a steady cool that summer heat simply cannot reach. The Victorians knew it, and they put it to work, building cellars, cool rooms, and that pantry tucked under the stairs precisely because those spaces stayed naturally cold all year. On a roasting afternoon, the family retreated downstairs, food was stored below ground, and the coolest air in the house was the air nobody had to pay a penny for. Open the door to a cellar in July, and you feel it roll up the steps at you, cold and still. We filled them in, boarded them over, turned them into home cinemas and utility rooms with the heating left on. We bricked up the free air conditioning the earth itself was offering us. Number 8. The cold table. When the weather turned, your grandmother turned the oven off and left it off, and not out of laziness. A lit oven or a hob on the boil dumps an astonishing amount of heat into a kitchen, heat that lingers for hours and creeps through the whole house. So summer teas went cold. Ham and salad, pork pie and pickle, bread and cheese, cold cuts from Sunday's joint, a bowl of trifle from the larder. Nothing that needed the oven, nothing that fogged the windows and warmed the walls. The kitchen, usually the hottest room in the house, stayed calm and cool. We fire up the oven at 6 on the hottest evening of the year and then complain the upstairs is unbearable at midnight. A cold tea on a hot day is not making do. It is keeping the whole house livable. Number 7. The wet towel in the doorway. This is the damp sheet trick aimed like a weapon. Take a large bath towel, soak it, wring it until it is just damp, and hang it across an open internal doorway that sits in the path of a through draft. Now every breath of air that moves between the rooms is forced through the wet cloth and comes out the other side measurably cooler from the evaporation. Place it well, in the doorway between an open window and the room you are sitting in, and you have built a crude evaporative cooler that the entire breeze must pass through before it reaches you. Re-wet it as it dries, which on a hot day is often. For the cost of a towel and a few jugs of water, your grandmother turned a simple draft into a stream of cool air on demand. Number 6. Houseplants on the sill. Those potted ferns and aspidistras crowding the windowsill of every parlor were doing more than gathering dust. Plants cool the air around them through transpiration, releasing water vapor from their leaves in a slow, steady mist that takes warmth with it, the same evaporative effect again, this time running on its own. A cluster of leafy plants packed along a sunny window also shades the glass, intercepting some of the sun's heat before it pours into the room. A whole windowsill of greenery softened the light, damped the heat, and freshened the air all at once. We swapped them for bare minimalist sills and a single succulent that does almost nothing. Bank the window with proper leafy plants and you get a little pocket of cooler, fresher air for nothing but the odd watering can. Number 5. The low wattage bulb. Here is something nobody thinks of as cooling at all. The old incandescent bulbs your grandmother used were shockingly hot. Touch one after an hour and it would scald you, because the great majority of the electricity they burned came out as heat, not light. A room lit by several of those in the evening was being gently warmed the whole time. The thrifty trick was simple. In high summer you used fewer lights, lower wattage bulbs, and let the long evenings do the work, keeping the rooms both cooler and cheaper. The principle holds even harder today, since every warm old-style bulb you can swap or switch off is heat you stop pumping into the room. Light a hot evening as dimly as you can bear, save the bright lights for winter when the warmth is welcome, and the room thanks you twice over. Number 4. The diagonal draft. Third pattern break. Most people open a window when they are hot. Your grandmother opened 2, and she chose them with care. One window open on its own barely stirs the air. But open a second window or a door on the opposite side of the house, ideally diagonally across from the first, and you create a through draft that drags a proper river of air clean across the room and out the far side. The bigger the temperature and pressure difference between the two openings, the harder it pulls. Front window and back door, upstairs and down, always at an angle rather than side by side. That is real cross-ventilation, and it can move more air through a house than any single fan. Opening one window cools the windowsill. Opening the right 2 cools the whole room. The skill was always in choosing which 2. Number 3. Thick, lined curtains. We think of heavy curtains as a winter thing, for keeping warmth in, but your grandmother used them just as hard in summer, for keeping heat out. A dense, lined curtain pulled across a sunlit window in the morning forms a barrier that the sun's heat struggles to pass, and lighter-colored linings throw a good share of it straight back out through the glass. Draw them at dawn on any window the sun will hit, leave them shut through the blazing middle of the day, and the room behind stays shaded and cool while the world bakes outside. It feels wrong to close the curtains on a beautiful sunny morning, almost gloomy. But a darkened room is a cool room, and come the evening you fling them open again to the cooler air. Sometimes the simplest barrier is the most powerful one of all. Number 2, the hot cup of tea. And here is the one that sounds completely mad. When you are roasting, the most British thing imaginable, a hot cup of tea, can actually cool you down, and scientists have proved it. The hot drink triggers your body to sweat more than the small amount of heat it adds. And as that extra sweat evaporates off your skin, it carries away far more heat than the tea ever put in, leaving you cooler than before you drank it. The crucial catch is that the sweat has to be able to evaporate, so it only works in dry air, not in sticky humidity, and not if you are wrapped up where the sweat cannot escape. But on a hot, dry British afternoon, your nan reaching for the kettle instead of a cold drink was not being stubborn. She was running a cooling system most of us never knew we had. Number 1. Treat the house like a flask. And finally, in first place, the trick that ties every other one together. The discipline your grandmother lived by without ever naming it. She treated her home like a flask. By day, she sealed it shut, windows closed, curtains drawn, doors between rooms kept to, holding the cool night air trapped inside and refusing to let the hot day in. By night, she opened it all up, throwing the windows wide to drink in the cold and bank it in the brick and stone for tomorrow. Shut in the cool, keep out the heat, then breathe the building open again when the sun is gone. No fan, no unit, no bill. Every single trick on this list was a servant of that one rhythm. We have forgotten the rhythm, so we buy the cooling instead. Learn it, and your house cools itself. So there you have it. 25 tricks your grandmother used without a second thought, every one of them free. Here is my challenge. Pick just one this week. The damp sheet, the ice before the fan, the 4 o'clock night purge, the hot cup of tea. Try it. Then come back and tell me in the comments whether your nan was right. Because I tested these and my fans have been sitting in the cupboard ever since. Your grandmother knew. Now you know too.